Excavation Profits Podcast by Excavation Marketing Pros. Interviews with successful excavation and septic business owners, revealing how they market and grow their business in today's economy. Hear directly from the most successful leaders in your business and discover what they're doing to keep their phone ringing, equipment running, and businesses booming. Now your host, Scott Andreessen.
Well, hello, everyone. This is Scott with the Excavation Profits Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I have a special guest, Ben of South Bay Septic and Excavation. How are you doing, Ben?
Excellent, man. Glad to be here.
Awesome. So thanks so much for coming on. Can you start off just telling us a little bit about yourself and kind of your backstory of what you do and your business?
Yeah, I don't know how far back you want me to go. You know, I grew up around dirt work with my dad. He had a small business when I was a young kid, and he got a little too old too quick, and I wasn't quite there enough to take over. So I went and worked for other people for a while, and I got into trucking and also excavation for a foundation company based in Puyallup, not too far from here. And then eventually I kind of went the long way around. I bought a dump truck and I started working by the hour in the dump truck. And then eventually I got an excavator, and then eventually with my leftover knowledge and from helping with other septic installs, I got licensed myself and certified for septic installs. So when I got the truck, that was about 3 years ago. I got the truck. So about 3 years ago, I went independent, and then I worked the truck for about a year, and then bought a machine and a trailer a year after that. So it's been about probably a year and a half. I've been licensed as an installer. And then, you know, of course I do general excavation as well. And road building and anything you need to develop a piece of land. And then about, I don't know how long it's been since I got a hold of you. But I don't know, you could probably tell me better. 6 months I've been with you guys, maybe, if that long. And, you know, I could say that I went from, you know, wondering if I even want to keep doing this to now I'm hiring people and I'm doing really good. And we can get more into that later, but that's about where I'm at now. I've got 4 machines and 2 trucks and a couple of trailers, and I'm growing.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
So what is it that made you decide to go off on your own and start your own company?
Just passion of dirt work, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's fun. I really love what I do. And, you know, I know the money's there, you know, if you know what you're doing. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
So where are you at in terms of like, size of the company, crews, revenue, stuff like that? Would you mind sharing any of that?
Well, so I have, I'm trying to kind of keeping it the crew small. I don't want to get really big, honestly. You know, I'm going to probably start bidding on city jobs and state work. Maybe that would change the size of the crew, but until then, I like to do private work. So I've got I hired my first guy. He was a foreman for one of the area's largest septic installing companies, and he's working for me now. So he runs my crew, and I got 2 other guys that work with him, and including me. I come and go, but yeah, that's about my crew right now. So
very nice.
Yeah.
So you got him kind of overseeing the work being done on the job site then.
Yeah, all I do really is go bid the job, and I hand him the plans, and he just runs with it. And, you know, he's got a good few years of experience, so he's good. He's pretty much an autopilot guy.
That's amazing. Great.
Yeah.
So what were the early times like when you were starting out? Any big lessons or turning points?
Um, any big lessons? Well, I learned a lot of lessons from my dad. So I think I avoided a lot of pain, but you got to bid your jobs right to begin with. There's customers that won't, let's say, people are always afraid of like being fired from the customer. You can't be afraid of that with having a high, like maybe you think your price is too high, but it's really not. Um, just hit them with the number, be honest. Don't worry so much about how they might take it personally. And your reputation will start to carry you if you do good. So just do things right, bid it right. The one lesson I learned though myself is if you don't know, tell them you don't know what it might run to. And I usually, if I have a really big project, I will separate the septic install from the general excavation and development of the property into time and material. Because it's really hard to it's really hard to be competitive, I think, with land clearing and road building and all the underground utilities all at the same time. So I just throw it all in time and material. And if you piece it out, you'd make more money and flat bidding, all that. But the T&M guys get all the work. So, yeah.
So how would you describe your company today as far as like what services do you focus on? What kind of clients do you serve?
So mostly the clients I serve are the ones who are purchasing fresh land and developing. I don't usually do repairs. I focus mainly on land development because, like I say, you get a lot more work out of land development, and you need to be the one-stop shop for your customer. So septic, I do even the foundation. I'll pour a foundation if I have to. Yep, that's and you asked the question, how was it the early days? Well, yeah, it was just me and my old 1974 Kenworth Model A dump truck. Sometimes I take the dog with me to work, and I would take anything they threw at me, even stuff that would damage the equipment. And I learned that if you're going to do something that's hard on equipment, you got to have a charge for that. And usually people respect that. Like for instance, hauling boulders with the truck, there's a charge for that because it just destroys the bed. And don't be afraid to give them a higher number. That's my lesson I learned, because eventually it's going to catch up to you if you don't.
So you mentioned new construction. Are you working primarily with homeowners, builders, and GCs, or both, or how does that work?
Oh, I'm sorry. Mainly homeowners. That's what I meant. Yeah. I very rarely work for other companies, like Highline and Luxar around here, or Lexar. They are really hard for me. Other contractors have had success, but mostly what I've observed is you need to have your own customers, not go through a third party. The only successful third party work you could do is probably from the truck, just trucking for a GC. But if I've known contractors most of my life, and they all say that the same thing. You need to have your own customers. Don't work for a third party.
So what was your approach to building a solid team in this kind of labor market?
Well, I think my reputation kind of carried me because my team came to me. I didn't recruit at all.
Wow.
I've had people for 2 years now wanting to work for me. So if you have a good reputation and keep it clean and be fair with everybody you deal with, it will come to you. So
good advice.
Yeah.
So what does a successful job or customer relationship look like for you?
A successful customer relationship to me is when the customer just trusts me and I do what I need to do. They take my recommendations, and eventually they just say, "Do what you feel is best." And I just develop their land, and that's usually, when you get the customer comfortable with you, you're honest with them. You tell them when you don't know something, and you look into it. Just be honest about everything. They'll trust you, and once you have a good trust relationship, that's when the job becomes so much easier, and that's a successful relationship. And of course, bid the job right so you make money. So, but
yeah. Let's get into a little bit about your marketing journey, how you're getting people to raise their hands so you can bid on these jobs. Before we started working together, how were you getting most of your leads?
Home advisor, which sucks. That you pay per lead and they resell your lead. But most of my work was through reputation and people recommending my name. I was very oblivious to marketing up until about 6 months ago. When I got a hold of you guys, everything changed. I went from doing really weird oddball jobs, to actually being able to walk in before work starts and kind of actually control the project. So that's, when people see you first, that's, the benefits you get rather than, hey, I got a problem. Well, I know this one guy kind of thing, and then I come in after the fact and try to correct other people's work. And it's a big mess, So.
What made you realize it was time to invest in serious marketing?
Well, I think it was you or somebody that gave me an orientation with your company, and they looked up my area and they says, well, this is how many searches on Google or Facebook Marketplace or Facebook Meta that coincide with septic or excavation. And it was like 10,000 a year or 14,000 inquiries a year. And then they kind of ran through the schematics further and said, well, these are the ones here are way more serious. This is like 3,000 really serious inquiries that actually hired contractors. And, and then, you guys kind of taught me about, how to control the website and get it more to the top of the search page. And I realized that, yeah, most people are Googling, because all of my area is growing so fast from people from outside the area. They don't really know anybody. So they're going to go to Google and they're going to rely on advertisement to find their contractors. So that's kind of when I realized, I need to get with you guys and get some serious, marketing going, essentially.
Do you remember what your biggest fear or hesitation was before hiring excavation marketing pros?
It was, you guys did such a fine job explaining to me. I wasn't that afraid. Everything costs a little bit of money, and my ROI is pretty crazy. We'll get into that later, but I knew I had to do it. Just based on the information he gave me. But I don't remember it being all that nervous. I think my budget was $1,400 or $1,200 or $1,400 a month, and I was like, well, that's a lot of money. But yet again, I'm renting a machine for $3,500 a month, so I'm already spending money. Might as well spend money on something that's going to keep me moving. And sure enough, all the best contacts I've ever got was Facebook. Honestly, I like Facebook a lot. Although we're trying to Google now. We're gonna see how that goes. But Facebook, yeah, you guys gave me really good leads. And most of these people that I work for usually end up becoming my friend after the project. So
Nice.
yeah, I got a newborn baby, and they're sending me baby blankets that they knit.
Oh God.
Yeah. So
So once we got started, what was the first thing you noticed changing in your business?
quality of work, quality of leads. That was the first thing I noticed, and then with that, the money came easier. So that was the biggest change, rather than trying to get these little oddball jobs and get my name out there the old-fashioned way. You guys really broaden the net, as it were, and if you do that, you have a greater selection of fish, essentially, if you want to put analogies to it.
Has the work we've done with the websites, the ads, the search engine optimization, the app, you got the lead connector, helped you land any big jobs or clients recently?
Yeah. Biggest job I've ever had was about 2 weeks ago. No, a month ago. And it just happened to be a demolition job. And I got this big house to tear down, and did a little bit of a driveway build. And that turned out that one job, I completed it in about a week and a half, and the gross on that was 116,000, and I netted about 100,000 probably.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
I think they'd call that a home run. Good job, man.
Yeah.
Nice.
So the reason, and I'm not. The thing is, we had to bid it kind of high, and the customer is totally aware of this. Like, again, be honest and upfront. And I said, the asbestos could be a huge problem. I'm not licensed for it. Asbestos abatement is really expensive. I bidded it as if half the house was asbestos, and they agreed that was a safe bet. So that's what we did. And I hired an asbestos guy to come in for the inspection and did some asbestos removal. But it turned out to be very little, because the house was all wood panels on the inside, mostly. But, we lucked out on the asbestos side of things. But, if the asbestos was as heavy as I was thinking it was, it would be a 50-50 split between gross and net, which is usually what I aim for. So,
that's good.
Yeah.
Those are good margins. What advice would you give to another contractor that's feeling stuck?
Your marketing is key. That's the first thing. Marketing. If you don't have any bids to hand out, you're not going to move your equipment. You're not going to do anything. That's the first step. You got to, that's, if I had to do it over again, when I bought my truck, I would have, if I knew you existed, I would have had to just start building my reputation and my website for me right off the bat, because you can always go rent a mini excavator, go do a little job, but,
right.
Yeah.
How do you stay motivated, Ben, and focused when things are hard or slow?
I just know I have to do it. The thing is, I don't hate what I do at all. Even if things are slow and we're getting into a project that's turning into a big, muddy, soupy mess. And, the weather's coming in on you, and you're trying to get things done, and it's just not happening very fast. For instance, I had a machine that got stuck in some really bad mud. But that's another story. No, you just have to look forward to the end goal, and you have to just enjoy the little things. You have to laugh. That's about it. And make sure, again, you bid it right, because you're going to have difficulties, and it's all right. Nothing goes perfectly to plan, and just be realistic about expectations. That's about it. Motivation wise, I love what I do. I don't really need much motivation. I have fun. honestly. If I am only just doing some trucking for a guy, I still think about the fact that I'm not working for somebody else. That's what keeps me going. So
Nice. So what does success look like for you over the next couple years?
buying my own land to develop and resell.
Nice.
Yeah. The end all for all excavation companies is doing that. That is the end all, believe it or not. Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
So let's switch it up a little bit. What is the craziest or funniest thing that's happened on a job site?
Craziest or funny. Aside from catching one of my guys trying to use the bathroom when we didn't have a porta john. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, we get some good laughs, but the craziest thing, I don't know that. It's not. I haven't had anything real theatrically funny happen, or
No excavators flipping over, nothing like that?
I haven't rolled a machine yet. I know. I was kind of wondering about. So I guess the one thing though is that I was on one of my bigger projects, and we were having to build up the driveway because this 40-acre chunk, and it's in the hills, really steep terrain, and it was a logging site about 10 years ago, and so they had a skidder road, which you can just barely get down and up with a pickup truck. Skidders, they don't really care. So I had to grade down one hillside to create a flat spot for a house, and then use that material to build up the road. We called it the ski jump because when we first bid the work, it had snow on the ground, and so we had to basically hit the ski jump to get to the other side really fast, so we didn't get stuck. That's what we called it, the ski jump. So it was just like, so flattening up the ski jump with the spoils from the house build. So we built up that road about 15 feet, and then after the fact, the customer says, "You know what? I don't like that culvert down there. I want to change the culvert." So, and we talked about this beforehand, and we thought we were okay, and the customer is just fine with it. So now he wants to do the culvert, and I should have probably just postponed it until we had a dry spell, but it's all clay material, and it's wet, and it's raining. So I'm out there with the 135 or the cleanout bucket, scooping material out and tossing it behind me, and someone's on a dozer shoving the spoils away from me, and we get the culvert in eventually with some great difficulty, and we added the length to it, so we ended up installing a 24-inch diameter by 70 feet long worth of culvert to get this road back the way they want it, because they ultimately wanted the road higher. So then we decided to, okay, well, that was kind of outside the original plan, but that's fine. You're paying me. That's why I bid by the hour, because the customer can change things. It doesn't really affect me. So we did that. I put the material back, and the machine was trapped on the other side of the job at that point, the way things laid out. So I thought, no problem. I'll just come across and take the excavator out to the other job we have, and the machine just started to sink. And now I'm thinking about this, and I'm like, oh, you know what? This is fresh mud I'm crossing, and it is literally 15 feet deep. And so the dozer wasn't there at that point to help me pull out, kick him out of the hole. So I'm sinking, and there's mud coming in the cab. Get in the cab with me.
Oh my gosh.
And and the homeowner's watching me, and I was like, I've never been this nervous in my life about losing a machine. And so I kind of started thinking quick, and I still had the mini excavator there. I fell a couple of his trees that were going to go anyways, and I started rigging up what's called dead mans. So you just lay down these trees in front of the machine, and you hook. I basically hooked the first log with a chain to the tracks, and it sucked the log under the machine. And I got the machine on top of the first log, got the chains off the tracks, and then I started slowly coming out of the hole. And we just left those logs there until they dried out. that was about the craziest thing, I think. That was the closest call I've come to losing a machine ever. I had machines catch on fire before, but that was the closest time I've ever come to losing a machine. So that would have been a doozy. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What's one tool or piece of equipment that you can't live without?
Excavator.
Mm-hmm.
Excavator. Yep. It's nice to have a blade. Even with a larger machine like a 145, it's still nice to have the blade because you can level the machine out. It's basically a big kickstand. And having a piece of I-beam with you, with the machine. Wherever the machine goes, a 10-foot chunk of I-beam goes with it. That's I'll use as grading, but also you can hold on the beams a little bit cockeyed, so you can do shapes. Rather than trying to having to spend $100,000 on a rotator, you can just grab an I-beam and do the same thing essentially. So wow. It's a little harder, but I'm not ready to spend that kind of money yet. So that's it.
So Ben, if you weren't running an excavation business, what would you be doing?
Probably working for that same foundation company, driving their trucks and running their machines for an hourly wage that I hate. So, if you're in control of your own destiny, it's a lot. I don't know. I think life is a lot more exciting, I feel like. So,
for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that's all I got. Any last words of wisdom for the guy or gal that they're thinking about starting their business, or, what kind of advice would you give them?
It's all about the marketing, and try to build your reputation.
Yeah.
Positively.
And doing great work, of course.
Yeah, that goes into that. You don't get a good reputation if you do bad work,
Yeah.
So,
awesome. Yeah. Well, listen, thank you so much for being a guest on the podcast. You gave tremendous value, and cheers to you. Much success ahead for you, for sure.
Thank you very much.
Awesome.
All right.
Well, with that, we will bring the podcast to a close then.
All righty.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Appreciate it.
Hey there, excavation pros. If you enjoyed today's podcast, make sure to like and subscribe to our podcast and channel. Leave us your feedback and let us know how we did. And hey, if you're interested in taking your excavation or septic business to the next level online, make sure you visit excavationmarketingpros.com today and take advantage of our free resources and mastermind group for excavation and septic industry professionals.